In the same vein, since the increase in global price of crude oil, there have been expectations that the retail pump price of petrol will rise following an increase in the landing cost of petrol and claims of full deregulation of the sector by the government. The Petroleum Products Pricing Regulatory Agency had in March released the pricing template that indicates the guiding prices for the month. The template, which revealed that the petrol pump prices were supposed to change or to be in the range of 209 to 212 naira per litre, sparked widespread outrage and was eventually removed from the agency's website. While the pump price in many filling stations in the country has remained between 162 naira and 165 naira per litre, the template is based on the average of February price of $62.22 per barrel and the dollar exchange rate at 403 naira 80 kobo, which showed that the cost of 189 naira 61 kobo per litre of petrol, that's talking about the landing cost. Now, despite the planned deregulation of the downstream oil sector, marketers still rely on the NNPC, which in recent years has been the only importer of petrol into the country. Well, I won't be doing this alone as usual. Let's assess the impact of this on independent marketers, on the system, and all that has to do with the distribution of PMS. I have the zonal chairman, Southwest, of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that's IPMAN, Mr. Tajuddin Dele Lamidi. Thank you very much for your time. It's great to see you again on the show.
Good afternoon, Tolu and viewers.
All right, I'm going to start this way. We've seen this landing cost issue is worrisome to me. As last week we heard in the news that it was even hitting almost above 200 naira. Now, how has it been for you people getting products at the ex-depot price? Clearly, we are back to subsidy regime. That's what it looks like.
Once again, good afternoon, viewers and members in IPMAN. I congratulate all of us for the Ramadan, and I wish all of us happy Ramadan. Well, usually the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, as you all know, is the largest operators of the downstream sector. And anything that happens in the industry either positively or negatively affects us. So the issue of subsidy, as you will recall, it has been in the public domain for a very long time, which has not been laid to rest. And we have said it several times that removal of the subsidy is the best solution, because it will enable more players in the industry, and it will bring in competition, which is good for any economy model, because where there is a competition, there's every likelihood of coming down of the prices. So having said this, the impact on Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, one is that it makes us unstable because you cannot plan. Because you wake up every day to believe that it will be done today, it will be done tomorrow. So if it is done once and for all, so we know our margin, we will know the capital that we are going to employ into our business, and that will give us an opportunity to plan our businesses, to actually forecast what we can make as profits, how much do we need to borrow from bank, how much do we have as at present. So the issue of affects us in planning. But however, it has been today, tomorrow. But as of today, we still buy at 148.17 from NNPC, and I want to commend federal government, the NNPC, and all other agencies for maintaining, for being sensitive to the plight of Nigerians. Because I must confess to you, if there's an increase now it will further compound problems of Nigerians, because for every time that price of petroleum is increased, it has a very chain effect on all other products. Every other product will have a slight increase in there. So I want to thank federal government for doing that. But then, I know they are not comfortable with this. I know they are just doing it for doing its sake. The federal government cannot absorb the difference. It's just for a while. It's just for a while. But while they've been claiming that the issue of labor, they have not agreed with labor. So I will implore the labor and the federal government to quickly do something about it and come into a conclusion, so that the players in the industry will know where exactly we're here, so that will enable us to plan our businesses.
130 billion. I remember the last time I was opportune to speak to the GMD of NNPC. It's about 130 billion, I beg your pardon, every month. That's a lot of money. So we're even looking at this 5-6 months and looking at more than 500 billion that will be spent on this. This is a lot. And like you said, governments cannot continue to absorb these shocks. But back to your business, when you get loans from banks to run your kind of business, what's happening to margins? Because you make your money from margins. How has it been with margins?
Yes, like I said the other time, I want to commend our member for their perseverance, because in fact, it got to a time that hardly you get a margin of 2 or 3 naira from a product, because the 148.17 I'm talking about, everybody doesn't get it like that, because the supply from NNPC is grossly inadequate. So we have to buy from tank farm owners, which we cannot get at the same price. So it has been very difficult for us in terms of our margin, but the fact remains that the petrol station cannot be used for another thing, and we cannot keep our station dry. We continue to bear. That's why we say, if you want to increase and let us know our margin. But honestly, it has been a very, very negative impact on our business. I can tell you with honesty of purpose that around February, March, most of us did business at loss. On the basis of that, we just want to keep our station wet. We don't want our customers to run away from us. So that's the situation we find ourselves. It has not been very easy when it comes to margin. And hardly you see any businessman that doesn't borrow money from bank. It's very, very difficult, especially these days.
Yes.
During the pandemic and the pandemic still there was nothing failed to Ipman by federal government or central bank or anybody. So, but we just have to be in business. We just have taken it that, out of 12 months, if you have to persevere for some 2-3 months in a year, why not? It's like a sacrifice for our company. But also I must commend the federal government for the supply, because the supply is there. Okay. If the supply is not there,
that's a problem.
It's a problem. We couldn't have sold at what we are selling, even when we are selling at home. But at least the supply is there, because in some cases, if you want to fight 2 things at a time, you may not get the result. If you want to fight supply and you want to fight the price, so it is better we engage. We ensure that there is supply, so the issue of price cannot come later, because the masses bear the brunt if there is no supply. Because what we are talking about, that we even sell at a loss, or we sell at what, is because we got supply. If there was no supply, there's absolutely nothing we can do. So government should please continue to ensure that the product is available while they are working, but it should not take more than necessary time, because no doubt about it, government is just postponing the evil days. So I appeal to labor to sit down with them and see the reason why it has to be so, because you can't be forced to sell product at a loss, because it's going to bounce back on the masses. That's why you see so that some other sector will fail, because it will get a time that they will not be able to pay salary again, and we are now going back to the same problem. So
now I'd like to ask you this question in this way, because I know Nigerians too would like to hear. Many also fear deregulation, which I know you've thrown your weight behind. Many people have thrown their weights behind. Many think that marketers could also exploit Nigerians. Can you tell us how that will not happen? Yes, I'd like you to answer that.
I don't know what you mean by exploitation, because
they think they will take advantage of us, we the masses. That we might be buying too high, and when it's supposed to come down, they might not want to bring the prices down.
You see, when I say so many players in an industry, that is, you have so many people.
Yes.
Like you can see now, if you look at Lagos Ibadan Axis Road, before, how many stations were there? But today, before you get to Ibadan, you can count up to 100 filling stations. And when the train is thrown open, you will see more stations. So when so many people are involved, then it is, in fact, the marketing strategy will set in, where people will even be begging people to come and buy from. So if you cheat, if you are cheating motorists, it's just for a while. If you sell at a high price, nobody is going to tell you before you bring your price down. You could see that now, that even when government put it at 160, between 165 and 162, people, I have some stations that sell at 161, 161.5. That's the beauty of it. So nobody goes to take advantage. If you try it, then your business will fall. So it's not possible, because the masses are wise. They'll say it very, very clearly. Today, if you adjust your pump, before you say Jack Robinson, the Okada people, the Marwa people, and everybody, they will notice it, and you will see that position is deserted. And that's why you will see some other stations very, very busy at all time, because they do the right thing. So I want to assure you, as far as Independent Petroleum Marketers Association is concerned, under my watch, which I lead, we will not cheat the Nigerians, and we should ensure that we do the right thing.
Good. I like that clarity. Thank you very much for that clarity. When there are a lot of players, competition will set in, and everybody will definitely
I'm telling you.
Now, you talked about NNPC already, and now I like more about the relationship. At the time, there was an online platform that almost caused some distortion in loadings. How has the relationship now been after that time? You say you are now getting enough supplies, but tell us more about that relationship. NNPC is key in the distribution of PMS at this time.
Of course, NNPC is the major, and that is where we are registered with. Before you can become an independent marketer, you need to register with NNPC. That was one of the things that makes us to be an independent marketer. Well, you see, NNPC and IPMAN were inseparable, because we just have to work together. I think that time was just a communication gap which we have breached.
Good.
I must tell you with a sense of responsibility that we are communicating, and once we have issue, we escalate to them, and they address it as it is. You see, the issue of customers especially introduced that, and I told you it was just communication gap, which we have discussed about. Though the system has its own problem, which NNPC is addressing, because for now, but you cannot achieve 100% at a time.
Yeah.
But there are still issues on it. But the good thing is that you complain and they are attending to you. That's okay. You cannot achieve 100% something at a time, but we are communicating.
All right, but back to IPMAN now. IPMAN, very big. When we talk about controlling about 80% of the market, that's what you control.
Correct.
You are the major player. Aside from the major marketers that have strategic locations, you are the ones in the nooks and crannies.
We're also in the strategy.
Yes, no, of course. But you are in those areas where people really, need this product too, and all of that. And that's why even government wants to partner with you in regards to gas.
That's a sponsor program.
We'll talk about that, so maybe time permits us. But I'm also looking at IPMAN itself. at the leadership and everything? What's been playing out? Last week we had one of the leaders on our show, and there was also a factional leader somewhere. So what is actually playing out with regards? Because, you know, properly you need to be coordinated and speak with one voice.
Well, you see, I used to tell people when they say conflict resolution, which means there's conflict somewhere before you can talk of conflict resolution.
Yes.
And even in our small family, there is no how you will not have disagreement, especially in a big organization as large as IPMAN. If you look at all the political parties in Nigeria, and the APC, the PDP, and other parties, there's always crisis everywhere. As a matter of fact, where there are people, crisis is one of the things that is very, very common, even within a just nuclear family. So IPMAN is a very big family. It's a family affair, and over times we have been resolving it, and I can assure you that will not have any negative part on our business, because there is no how you can roll out conflicts where you have more than 5,000, 6,000 people. So it's a matter of agreeing. For example, if you look at Southwest now, it's peaceful, there's no problem, and like others. So I want to assure you that it's just an in-house problem that our leaders are resolving, and it's going to be finally resolved. But I cannot run away from the fact that there's internal wrangling in IPMAN. Okay. It's a normal something in any in any society.
We expect that it should be resolved, and everybody find a common ground and make sure there's progress. Particularly now that we're even looking at gas, because government wants to take advantage of all of your locations and the strategic locations and even the nooks and crannies for gas expansion. What are you thinking about that?
Yes, you see, peace is very key to any development, because where there's peace, that's where you have development. Like I said, our leadership are working assiduously on that to ensure that there's absolute peace in IPMAN. Like I said before, there is nowhere, even Nigeria Union of Journalists, Nigeria Union of Labor, and also there is nowhere you don't see crisis. I call it disagreement. We just come together and we disagree and agree, because there are issues in constitution which our founding member did not foresee, which some people will take advantage and the rest, and all sorts of things. And when there's crisis, it later leads to a harmonious relationship, because we'll be able to address those issues that is in dispute. So that is no problem. This issue of gas expansion, which the federal government has brought to the fore, like I said before, we have key into it, and good enough, we already have our filling station. It's just to put the skid and the rest on the station. So we are working with the people who are saddled with the responsibility of the gas expansion, and very soon you will start seeing that, because it entails a lot of things. Because if you are to remodel your filling station, you've got to get approval from Department of Petroleum Resources, from the urban and regional planning, as the case may be, because we are going to change something, so you have to get approval. So for us in Southwest, we have set up a committee who are already looking into that. People who are ready to look into this, and we are taking them in batches. Then we will ensure that the committee will ensure that they get approval from the DPR and everything before we can start. It's not something that we just go in and start putting. You need to follow some procedure. So we don't want to jump the gun. So we are already working on that.
All right, wrapping up now as we move on, we are still we maintain the subsidy regime as government is trying to appeal to labor and all of that. What's your message to Nigerians, for consumers, and the general public, even your members, as we move on in 2021?
Yes, The agency that is saddled with the responsibility of pricing is PPPRA.
Yes.
So I want to plead with them and the labor and everybody concerned to work on it as soon as possible. But my message to our members is that we should get ready for it, because this is an issue that we cannot run away from. But and also my message to federal government is that because one thing, if you remove this subsidy entirely, the money that is the difference should be used to put infrastructure for the mass, so that you are losing something and you are gaining something. Not that when you remove the subsidy and that amount of money that people directly or indirectly have been enjoying, and it now goes down the drain. If you put it on the rail, put it on some other things, maybe schools and everything, so it will further go back to the masses. because the majority of Nigerians today, when it comes to school fees, you see parents. So if such money is being used to alleviate the problem of the masses in terms of infrastructures, education, health. Some people are sick; they don't have money. If we get to the hospital, even to get the card is difficult. So if they put the money back to the system, it further comes back to the people. So that's my message to the government. For our members, we should be ready for it. It's something that we cannot run away from. So, and I pray that it will be done as soon as possible.
All right, and let me also wish you Ramadan Kareem. It's that season.
Yeah.
I will thank you very much for sparing out your time even during this very, very sensitive and month. Thank you so much for your time. I've been talking to the zonal chairman, Southwest Zone of the Independent Petroleum Market Association of Nigeria, Mr. Dele Tajuddin Alamidi. Thank you so much for your time again. I appreciate it.
Thank you too.
All right then.
And